I don't know if you've been feeling it too, but this past week I've been feeling heavy. Not necessarily sad, and not necessarily like anything is wrong, but just burdened. Like I've been carrying a lot, pushing through a lot, thinking about a lot, and trying to figure out what comes next. There's been this feeling of, okay, universe, can I catch a break now? And at the same time, underneath all of that, I've had this strange knowing that maybe I'm not falling apart at all. Maybe I'm standing at the edge of something. I've spent a lot of time lately thinking about how we can reach these moments in life where we genuinely don't know what we're doing next. We don't have the whole answer. We don't know exactly how things are going to work out. We may even look around and wonder why certain things are changing, why certain things are falling away, or why something that once felt right suddenly doesn't feel right anymore. And I think we sometimes interpret that uncertainty as evidence that we're lost. But what if we're not lost? What if we're at a threshold? Being lost means you don't know where you're going. Being at a threshold means the place you've been can no longer contain who you're becoming. And honestly, those two things can feel almost identical when you're standing in the middle of them. I've been sitting with that idea very deeply because several messages came through for me this morning that all seem to point toward the same thing, that we're sometimes in a period of preparation long before we understand what we've been preparing for. We collect experiences, skills, wisdom, relationships, lessons, perspectives, and even the things that broke our hearts become part of the preparation. We may look back at our lives and see a bunch of disconnected chapters, but perhaps they weren't disconnected at all. Perhaps they were ingredients. Perhaps all of those experiences were quietly preparing us for something we couldn't have understood earlier. And then there are the things that begin to leave. A relationship, a job, an identity, an expectation, a way of living, a way of giving. Sometimes something can be good and still be finished. That's a hard one for me because I think we're conditioned to believe that if something is ending, it must have been wrong. But completion doesn't require failure. Sometimes a chapter ends because it worked. It gave you what you needed. It taught you what you needed to learn. It prepared you for the next thing. And now there's simply no reason to keep carrying it. That has really been speaking to me this week. I've been asking myself, what am I carrying that I don't actually need to carry into my next chapter? What is taking more energy than it's giving back to me? What am I continuing simply because I've always continued it? What am I holding on to because I'm afraid of what happens if I let go? And maybe those are questions worth asking ourselves too. Because there's a difference between perseverance and refusing to acknowledge that something is complete. There's a difference between being generous and abandoning yourself. There's a difference between being compassionate and constantly overriding your own needs. And there is a difference between trusting the universe and believing that you have to carry everything yourself. We're allowed to have boundaries. We're allowed to change our minds. We're allowed to outgrow things. We're allowed to say, this doesn't work for me anymore. We're allowed to close a door without making the thing on the other side of it bad. We're allowed to release something simply because it no longer belongs in the life we're becoming. And maybe that's part of what a threshold asks of us. Not to work harder, not to prove ourselves, not to carry more, not to figure everything out. Excuse me. Maybe it asks us to rise into ourselves, to become the version of ourselves who knows our own value, who respects our energy, who doesn't need everyone else to understand our next move, and who can say, I don't know exactly where I'm going yet, but I know I'm not going backward. I've also been thinking about how often we ask, what's the answer? Maybe sometimes the answer isn't something we need to add. Maybe the answer is something we need to release. Maybe we're asking for a new door to open while our hands are still completely full of everything from the old room. Sometimes we have to create the space before we can receive what is trying to come in. And I want to be really honest about something personal here, because I'm not standing outside of this message giving it to you. I'm in it with you. This past week has made me feel like I've been carrying a backpack that somehow keeps getting heavier. I've been pushing, thinking, planning, trying to understand what's next. And at times I've honestly felt tired of having to figure everything out. But this morning, after sitting with these messages, I'm intentionally choosing a different interpretation. I'm choosing to believe that this heaviness doesn't necessarily mean I'm going in the wrong direction. I'm choosing to intend that I'm at a threshold moment. That perhaps some of what feels heavy is simply what I'm finally ready to put down. That maybe something is making room. And I don't need to know exactly what is coming. Neither do you. That's something I really want us to remember. We don't need the 5-year plan. We don't need the entire staircase illuminated. We don't need to know exactly what the next version of our life looks like before we're willing to take the next step. We need enough light to see the next few feet. So if you're in one of those strange places right now where you feel like you're between worlds, I want you to breathe. You don't have to carry the entire future today. You only have to carry today. You don't have to chase the next chapter. You can allow it to find you. Keep creating. Keep learning. Keep following what makes you feel alive. What sparks joy. Keep paying attention to the ideas that won't leave you alone. The little nudges, the leads in life, the unexpected opportunities, the things that make you think, I don't know where this is going, but something about it feels alive. And if something is falling away right now, maybe you don't have to immediately label it a loss. If something is ending, maybe you don't have to force it to continue. If you're outgrowing something, maybe you don't have to make yourself smaller to stay inside it. And if you're being called towards something you've never imagined, you don't have to understand it yet. Maybe you're still becoming the person who can live it. Maybe that's why the answer hasn't completely arrived. Maybe you are the answer that is still unfolding. So this is my threshold pep talk for all of us today. We are not behind. We are not starting over. We are not failing because we don't have the answer yet. We are not required to carry everything forward. We have already survived the chapters that taught us how strong we are. Now maybe we're learning something different. Maybe we're learning how to receive, how to choose, how to rest, how to trust ourselves, how to allow our lives to become bigger without believing that everything has to be a struggle first. And I want you to remember that we are on this journey together. I'm not asking you to go somewhere I'm unwilling to go myself. I'm figuring this out too. I'm releasing things too. I'm questioning things. I'm standing at thresholds. And maybe that's the beautiful part of all this. We don't have to have all the answers for each other. We can simply remind each other that we're still moving. So take the next step. Not the whole staircase, just the next step. Release what is complete. Good job. Protect what is sacred. Follow what feels alive. Make some room. And leave a little space in your life for the possibility that something far more beautiful than what you can currently imagine is already making its way toward you. You don't need the whole map. You just need to trust the threshold. Because sometimes the moment when everything feels uncertain is actually the moment right before everything changes. And if you're there right now, keep going. I am. And we're going to see what's on the other side together.